As someone who has a lot of goals and things I aspire to do and be, The Green Knight resonated with me in a lot of ways. Granted, the movie's not perfect, but regardless, there were a lot of things in the movie that I saw that kind of hit different, you know? For one, there's this feeling of a countdown towards a destination or goal, and like the sense of doom as that time approaches, having not taken much action. But in the movie, it's not like a feeling of a countdown. Like, he has to be ready for this huge thing to occur within 1 year. It was essentially like a ticking time bomb towards Gawain's death. But IRL, there's always like this feeling of like, oh, I'm gonna get old, or like my time will pass. So there's that sense of, I guess, a countdown when applied to like real life. As usual, I want to give a brief, not really brief, but I do want to give a premise for this film because I think it's pretty important. So The Green Knight revolves around Gawain, who's King Arthur's nephew. Now, Gawain's mother is a witch, and she actually casts a spell to Gawain where he's located at, which is the Round Table, where King Arthur and his entire fellowship is kind of just hanging out. And the Green Knight is this mysterious, like, foreboding dude. He's made up just of pure nature. So essentially the Green Knight appears and calls out for a volunteer. This volunteer would strike the Green Knight, and in exactly 1 year from that moment, that volunteer should go ahead and see the Green Knight at his Green Chapel and would receive the same blow that he dealt the Green Knight. So, yeah. You hit me, I hit you back in a year, essentially. And I'm assuming you guys can guess who volunteers for that. Main protagonist of the story. I just think it's hilarious how Gawain, like, chooses the most deadliest blow. Just slices his head right off. Like, you probably should have thought about that, sir, before you did that, because you're going to be dealt that same blow in exactly 1 year, so get ready. After this unforgettable moment, Gawain kind of becomes like a celebrity. After the story of the Green Knight's beheading, leaving the Round Table and kind of spreading across the masses. So people see him on the street and they're like, oh, you're that dude who like beheaded that one mythical creature. You're amazing, right? And in the year leading up to the big encounter, Gawain kind of spends his time just drinking and partying. But King Arthur, the grand man that he is, he makes sure to remind Gawain, like, hey, this is your part of the deal. Make sure to hold it up. And Gawain sets off on his journey. So something I noticed that I thought was like pretty interesting and like realistic, like not everyone is built from day one to be like this grand, glorious hero leader figure. Like, Gawain is kind of a normal dude who wants greatness, but he has to like bring it out of himself, before he actually is granted the greatness in his mind. So in the beginning, it seems like he doesn't really know what to do with this greatness that he's granted. When he starts his trip on horseback, there's kids that are like following him out of the village, like, oh my god, cheering him on his journey, and Gawain just kind of looks back awkwardly and is like, yeah, like he doesn't really respond as the hero figure that these kids are seeing him as. And I think that's like a look into how he sees himself. Like, maybe he doesn't feel like he deserves all this celebrity treatment, at least yet. On this journey, Gawain is obviously met with a whole bunch of adversities that definitely, up his life experience meter, if you will, as any old tale goes, including getting robbed by scavengers, dealing with the ghost of a beheaded woman, etc. Good old medieval main character shit. Gawain eventually gets to the Green Chapel and he sees the Green Knight. When it comes time for this mythical legend dude to slice Gawain's head off, obviously Gawain, like, he cowers. Like, he's scared. He's about to die. You should have thought about that before you beheaded this man, but he knows what's up. He knows he's about to get beheaded, so he's scared. Gawain sees a vision of himself escaping, so he doesn't get beheaded. He ends up leaving the Green Chapel, goes back to his village, and he becomes the next king after King Arthur passes away. He takes the son he had with Essel, which is main love interest, his lover, also a common woman. He takes the son and essentially raises him with a noblewoman. So abandons Essel, the love of his life, arguably, and just gets with a noblewoman. Obviously, we know how that goes. Noble people, etc., etc. And in general, he just becomes a very hated king. His head falls off his shoulders, and he snaps back into reality. This look into a brief moment of cowardice and how it completely altered Gawain's life path shook him to his core. Seeing all that go down like just kind of made him realize like, oh wait, like I can't escape from this right now because I'm just going to live on feeling inadequate about myself because I didn't accomplish this very crucial task, that it's just going to mess up my self-worth and I'm not going to step up to the plate or else I have to. At least that's how I kind of viewed that whole montage of like the vision and everything. So after he sees this and he realizes what's about to go down and fully like to his core understands that this must be done, he's now bravely ready for his fate and calmly allows the Green Knight to deal back his blow. And the Green Knight is proud. You know, I think that's the warmest moment of the movie, is when the Green Knight is like, yes, son, like, you got this, you did this, you got to this point. At the start of the movie, Gawain's asked if he's a knight yet. It's like, I guess, the equivalent of someone asking in modern day, like, oh, have you graduated college yet? Or like kind of getting asked about these life checkpoints. He's asked if he's a knight yet. And Gawain responds, no, I've got time, I've got lots of time. Almost as if he's convincing himself that something or someone outside of himself is going to make him into the man that he aspires to be. So for me personally, there have been like many times where I kind of procrastinate on taking big steps towards my goals, and I kind of like lose focus, only to be faced with like this like inevitable anxiety of the feeling of cowardice and almost like the fear of achieving your goals and the responsibility that comes along with it. Because like that's some big girl stuff right there, accomplishing all your goals, and now you have like these huge sets of responsibilities, or at least it seems like there's so much responsibility behind it. But it's like, I guess that's what it takes to have greatness and to feel honor. At least, you know, for certain people. It's different for everyone, of course, but I've felt that before, what Gawain is going through. So closer to the start of the movie, when King Arthur calls Gawain up to the front of the round table, again, King Arthur is his uncle, he asks Gawain what he sees when he looks around at everyone else. Gawain says he sees legends, you know, people who have molded their own story and deserve their seat at this table. And it's very clear that Gawain like aspires that level of honor, which is probably why he accepts the Green Knight's challenge at that very occasion. Sometimes all it takes to snap back into yourself is to visualize yourself in the future having taken different paths of life and recognizing what you want and reverse engineering like what you have to do to get to where you want to be. A philosophy that I've recently kind of encountered that I really like is the idea that, you know, a year is going to pass by anyway, so might as well do what you got to do to be closer to greatness, you know? Yeah.